Does BYU have the wrong approach to football? From the reaction to Arizona State students to the reaction to a recording of a captain. I'm not going to say who. I'm not going to speculate who it was, though many think they know who it was, saying swear words at halftime and drumming up his team, to Kalani Sitake's rhetoric this season and in seasons prior. Is BYU shooting itself in the foot with an incorrect approach to football because of how they handle situations like this? From rowdy fans to a locker room spiel to the head coach and the way he talks. I want to address that. Here's where I will start. This is a very good, long thread that I'm going to read word for word and see if you, a BYU fan, or you, a Big 12 fan, sees this out of the Cougars. From Terrell Williams. He says, Inferno hot take incoming. I've been and remain a huge Kalani proponent. What he and this team have accomplished this season has been remarkable, improbable, and they deserve major kudos. However, one consistent concern, is this the issue with BYU? One consistent concern I've had with Kalani's teams, and it showed again, is a lack of killer instinct and aggressor mentality when it matters most. So many people have talked about, this is me talking now, so many have talked about coming out flat, not playing with passion, not seeing that fervor that we're used to from most of these rabid college football teams from BYU. Carroll continues. 2 weeks in a row, with everything on the line, this team has come out flat and lifeless in the first half. Why? Because they've lacked a killer mentality. After the Utah game, Kalani gave a locker room speech about loving Utah, its coaches and players, saying they are ours. Meanwhile, Whittingham is out here throwing subtle shade at BYU every chance he gets, refusing to even say the name BYU, a tactic he learned from Urban Meyer, because deep down he wants his team to destroy BYU, and every Utah player feels the same way. It's football, and we're rivals. There's no love lost there, and honestly, that's great. That's a true rivalry. We need to embrace it. Kalani's current hold hands and sing kumbaya approach feels like it's dulling our edge and isn't lighting this team's fire. After a win against a hated rival where the boys went to war, they want to relish in the fact they punched their opponents in the mouth and they stomped on their grave. So let's keep football, and keep the love everyone speeches for firesides. Thanks for attending my TED Talk. That tweet, me again, that message is something I think you got out of the verbiage, out of the passion, out of the heat and fire of the BYU player who was inappropriately recorded while giving a very passionate halftime speech this week while down 21-3. My thoughts immediately after hearing that were, one, insane anyone would have the disrespect to record that. Two, and I might be in the minority, BYU fans could disagree, there were swear words riddled through this halftime speech. But to me, an emotional message like that from a leader while down 21-3, I played junior high football and heard those. That part of college football rocks. You can't kill that part of what these guys take so seriously as possibly, and currently in college football, their livelihoods. I don't think we can be mad with passion that encompasses what a rivalry is, what college football is, what the intensity is like. I love when a coach, and to give you some perspective here, I'm not a wise sage. I haven't seen 50 years of college football. I'm 23 years old. I'm the age of those players in the locker room. And I can tell you what I want. When I'm in the heat of battle, I don't want a Dave Aranda, sorry, Dave, to come in and say, you know, guys, we're going to love our opponent. We're going to love them. We're going to love. Yes, I think there's some respectability to that. But you're in a university where the LDS faith, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that faith has already built this aura of love. Okay. How do we merge? How do we mix the killer mentality? This was an issue at Baylor for a long time, was person over players, the mantra, but also at some point we do have to also have the players. We've got the love for sure. But for BYU, you have to have the fight. You have to have the fire. I've seen it before, but it seems so odd to me that a lot of times, and I don't want to knock somebody being a loving human being. I don't want to knock somebody being kind, someone being nice, being called to something bigger than sports. Get it. 100%. But I do want to question And again, I use Baylor person over player. Where does the player part come in? Where does the fire come in? Where does we just beat our rival? Let's take a second. And I think that the words that were used there were to like dance on their grave. Maybe you don't even have to go that far. But give me a little oomph. Instill in me that we have to beat that team across the way into submission. I want that as a guy in that locker room. I don't want, hey, let's hold their hands. Let's beat them with kindness and respect. Let's go win, boys. Sure, kindness and respect. Yes, lack of penalties, fundamentals, be a complete football team, well put together, a group of young men. We're growing human beings. Yes. But I want to cross out the M's. I want to walk on a mat that says 5-7. I want to have a banner that hangs up in the locker room every day of the offseason that has the score on it from that Arizona State game. I want to be reminded of those kids on the field. I want to be reminded of Kenny Dillingham and his post-game tirade. I don't want to, I don't want to just hold their hands and love on them. That's something outside of the game for sure, and keep respect within the game, no doubt, but have the killer mentality. Kill them with respect. I think that halftime speech was warranted. I have been in those locker rooms, like I said, in junior high. So the BYU fans that were, and I don't even know if it's many BYU fans that were disgusted by it. I saw a lot of Utah fans like, oh, he swore. All right. I also, this is in the category of soft. I feel like the halftime speech was not soft. Kalani Sitake's post-game speech after Utah, now looking back, it's like, I didn't think it was an issue then, but now you're like, oh, shoot, you're right. They don't really have that killer mentality, do they? Say, the fact that a player's got to stand up at halftime and say, hey, guys, bring the killer mentality. I want the head coach to give me that pregame. Where were they in the first half? With the Arizona State deal, Kenny Dillingham way out of line. Like, your wife's standing next to you. What a weird, enraged thing where he just goes after the officials. And he was weird. He came back to say yesterday, I guess it was, in a press conference, that he was in the wrong for how he handled late game adjustments and late game calls as a coach. So why, if you were in the wrong, would you be so ticked off with the officiating crew at that level? And they got it right, by the way. You should never be looking over their shoulder. Just have some respect, have some restraint. I don't think he's a bad coach. I understand his fire, his passion, his. But again, you have to have the certain amount of withdrawal here. Him being over their shoulder with his wife right there, with the ESPN reporter right there. He's setting an example, too, for 19-year-olds. And when he's in a referee's face saying that's effing BS and just completely going up. I mean, I put myself in the situation of that referee. I want to punch the guy in the face. Like, you cannot talk to me as a fellow human being like that. That deserved a flag. Just stop. Be normal for a second. That was completely unwarranted. And anybody who's like, yeah, well, he was right. No. Just be a human being, dude. That's easy. But as far as the fans being on the field and they're saying bad words and they're on the dude, I've seen so many field rushes. I've heard so many heinous things from 19-year-olds. Does that justify it? Does it make it okay? No. But we have to understand those are 19-year-olds at Arizona State, one of the top party schools in America. They're not at the football game to learn. They don't go to a lot of football games in general. Sorry. But they were passionate. Cross the line? Yeah. What do you expect a 19-year-old who's standing on a football field to do? I mean, the coach, even Kalani, said in his play, he was like, I get it, man. That's just a passionate fan base. We got to beat them. If we don't want them to do that, we got to beat them. Yeah, that's a great perspective, Kalani. Thank you. Yeah, it sucked. Oh, we don't want to go back there. Okay, I get it. Don't bring your kids to that environment, but it's kind of what you're going to get from 19-year-olds. I'm not going to parent them. And your Facebook post or your Twitter post is not going to fix a dang thing. Though I think it did for Utah. It's like a lot of Utah fans are like, yeah, sorry for throwing trash on the field. But those were like adults. The 19-year-olds for Arizona State are not going to have the same wherewithal and apologetic attitude that Utah fans did. Thank you, Utah fans, for being normal. This has been, it always will be. Come back tomorrow. for squad shows tomorrow, by the way, on Wednesday this week. Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.